We are the Load Bearing Beams podcast. This is our ongoing recap of Severance, the only good television show. We call this miniseries Lumen is Listening. Lumen is listening, and we're anxious to help because we are Lumen, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm Matt S.
And I'm Laci R.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I had a funeral for Romeo and Michelle. That is why I have this etched mug, in case anyone was wondering.
This episode is called Trojan's Horse. It was originally released yesterday, February 14th, 2025, directed by Sam Donovan, who also directed the second episode of the season, written by Megan Ritchie. And what do we think of Trojan's Horse, Laci?
Big picture thoughts.
Big picture thoughts.
I'm back up to an A-. It is my third favorite episode of the season.
Okay, so if you're only listening to get letter grades, you can stop right now because you have Laci's.
Done.
Good episode. Yeah, pretty good. I was thinking that I feel like the show is kind of at a place where I keep bringing up Lost as a comparison. And now I'm starting to realize like it's almost literally like one for one, because with Lost, you had like the flashbacks and the flash forwards and the flash sideways alternate universes, which took place in the outside world. And in Severance, you have the outside world. On Lost, you have the island. On Severance, you have the severed floor. And the question is like, how do you tell sort of parallel stories that enrich each other, that interact with each other? How do you introduce these mysteries and move towards solving them, but then ask new questions? And how are you able to make all of that in an interesting way where you can keep this going for a while? And so far it's doing a good job, but it's a very difficult thing, very delicate.
It's got a lot of balls in the air.
Yes, yeah. A lot of balls in the air.
It has to be satisfying. There have to be satisfying moments in each episode. Otherwise I'm going to check out. And it's probably in large part due to the fact that they're all back in the office again. I just want them to be on the severed floor, not discovering things, but just like maneuvering that. Milchick at his weirdest.
I wanted that too, but no, Irving is not. But, he'll probably be back in 2 episodes.
I hope so.
The other thing is it's kind of reminding me of Battlestar Galactica, where like things changed constantly in that show. Like a new character would get introduced. You're like, well, this is my new friend. And then by minute 20, that friend turns evil. And I feel like things are also moving at this giant, super fast pace in this show in terms of how things develop.
How many seasons is Battlestar Galactica?
4.
And it knew where it was going when it started?
No, but it had like 20 episodes per season.
Jesus.
You get a lot of stuff in there.
I like stuff.
The thing with Helly, being an imposter, whereas I thought that was dumb, now that I see this episode, I think, well, they're doing interesting stuff with it.
Yep.
They keep changing up the dynamics between these characters, and always in an interesting and satisfying way, and always in ways that make me think like, yeah, I haven't necessarily seen this dramatized before. That feeling of I'm angry at you, but I'm not angry at you.
Right.
But I still feel anger.
Oh, I can tell you when that happened. That happened on Friday after you accused me of thought crime, a version of me that you thought existed that did way too many things. It wasn't Friday. Whatever.
It was Wednesday. Now, did I write this down in my notes for when we get to that? Yes. So we'll dive into what happened when we get to that moment in the episode.
Let's get on with
But yeah, this is a fun episode. I'm with you. I like, just give me the inside stuff, give me the severed floor, and then give me a little bit of the outside. I want it all. And that is the challenge with the show, is we want the status quo, but we want answers. We want to move toward. But I also thought, like, I'm pretty sure where this is going is that like Mark and Dylan and Irving are all going to meet and become friends on the outside and work together. And like, the last shot of this season is going to be them going down the elevator in the exports dark hallway, whatever it's called.
Wait, are you saying their innies are going down there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I thought you just said the outside world.
So that's one thing that's going to happen.
Oh.
And then also, I'm pretty sure, like how the first season of Lost ends, I think, with the hatch, the light coming on in the hatch, and you're like, holy shit.
That is good shit right there. I'm already intrigued, because the thing you and I seem to be sure of on last episode was that the outside Helena was actually falling for Mark and enjoying her time with the severed people. And maybe she's just putting on for the board, or, the people who are in charge of her. But I did not expect this cold snap.
Well, you just said it. She is talking to her colleague, so she can't be like, but I really like him. I didn't necessarily think she's falling in love with Mark. I think she was kind of falling in love with an alternate version of her life. A life where things are simpler for her, where she's not in this evil pilgrim family and doesn't have all these expectations and doesn't have to be an evil capitalist.
And her own dad doesn't even talk to her, doesn't even relay any messages. The only time she sees her dad is when she's in trouble.
Right. And she doesn't have to how many obligement sessions do you have to go to this evening? The only thing you have to worry about is rolling a ball around in a computer and going and kissing your boyfriend in the bathroom.
Kissing in the bathroom.
Yeah. So this episode, we open in the C&D. That's what it's called, right? Content and development. Where did Christopher Walken work? What is his?
I understand what you're asking, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. Where Felicia and another employee. Let me just tell you, people watching and listening, there's a billion YouTube recaps of Severance that are all like everything you missed in Severance, and they analyze every frame, and that is not our approach.
That is not us. We are just going off of how did it make us feel. And what's it doing well as a piece of TV? How's this stacking up to other things you could be watching? That's how I think of this.
Yes, and I think that what we do that it's a little different is really examine the questions it's asking about the nature of work and capitalism, what it's asking about the nature of what it means to be a human being.
Yep. Not what it means to be a human being solving a puzzle. I mean, this show is a puzzle, so you can't help but start to go down those threads as well. But we do try to stick to how does what in front of us make us feel.
Yeah, so in this cold open, this mysterious guy who we don't see in the face
whistling Dixie.
He's whistling the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
I asked you multiple times what the name of the song was, and you didn't know.
Yeah, just
like you look up theorem.
Wait, what? I knew what a theremin is. This is annoying. He's whistling the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and it's like, ooh, is he doing? What's the connection between Edmund Fitzgerald? Now, my brain as a person who talks about a movie every week for 2 hours is like, it's cool, it's atmosphere.
It is cool, and in a creative way of not showing you his face, and he's wearing what Bert. He's not wearing what Bert would wear. He doesn't totally have hair that isn't Bert's. I knew it wasn't him, but they want you to think that for a moment.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's what I thought. And the whistling, you give me anybody that's whistling and they do nothing else, sinister. That shit is sinister.
It is sinister. Yes, who would do that?
Also, just taking a fucking set of dental tools out of that freaking thing that looks like a morgue, and the ladies are so disturbed by it. They're not pumped to see their friend. This is not a friend. This is just some guy.
This is the guy that Felicia said, comes by and picks up the stuff and brings it to the exports hall, whereas they used to do it themselves. And hey, maybe there'll be an answer of why dental tools or why surgical tools or whatever the hell these are. I don't know. It just looks cool and creepy to me.
Yes.
So that's the cold open, and then the credits begin. And then we check in with Mark. Outside Mark Scout. Adam Scott plays Mark Scout, everybody. And he's got a new roommate.
And he needs to get his dryer fixed. And I have a fun little theory going on that all that this doctor actually does is...
Ragabi.
Dr. Ragabi actually...
The woman who inserts the microchip into people.
And also reintegrates them. That this is her little scam, that she goes from any to any and convinces them they need to reintegrate just so she can have a place to live for a little while.
I think there's a lot of evidence for this.
It's a
good little thing. I think she's already done it to Irving, and he's kicked her out by now, but he's still he'll call her for updates.
Yes, that's who I think he's talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah,
she's doing fucking reconnaissance she's an undercover boss.
That would be annoying, but
be annoying, but also... I don't know. They could fuck with it. We'll see.
We see Mark talking on the phone to his sister, and she's like, how's your outdoor retreat thing? And he's like, it was good, except I fell off a rope or something, and I got wet. And she asks about his plan with the eyelids, and he's like, oh, that's going good. Yeah, it's going good. Just need to work on it some more. Anyway, gotta go.
He's just real unmotivated, where before it was the only thing he was thinking of. So she smells shit. She knows. She don't shit a shitter. You're being weird.
Well, he hasn't told his sister that he has a new roommate who is performing weird medical science.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. He could die. His friend died.
Yep. And so he asks Ragabi, like, when are we going to keep working on the reintegration? And she's like, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like complete snake oil for her to be like, oh, you haven't had any more memories? What about your innie? And he gives the craziest look, but it's like, yeah, but if my innie's having them, wouldn't they be of me? Wouldn't I feel, what? How? We're one and the fucking same. If he's having them, I'm having them. Ragabi.
And we complained about this last week, that episode 3 ends with the idea that Mark is now reintegrated, and from this moment on, nothing will be the same.
Except for it fucking was.
Yeah, now the show's like, actually, that wasn't a big deal. He only like integrated for like a second, for like a split second.
Like while she's doing the questions,
Yeah.
while the stuff is on his head, like that's when he's doing it. It's not doing it outside of that, or at least we don't know. She says some curious stuff here. She does say, well, it's interesting because Mark asked this question as if he's surprised by it. Could they be following you? I was like, duh. Of course, of course they're keeping an eye on her. But then she says, depends on how cool you played it up there, whatever she said. But it's like, wait, when was he at all? What? Has he been remembering this whole time? Like, was he reintegrating that whole fucking trip?
No. That's not how I take it. As long as you're not doing anything suspicious. You're not doing anything suspicious to give away the game that you have me living down. I don't know. To the people who are always watching and listening, Lumen is listening. It is interesting. Something to ponder, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, now we really see for the first time in this next scene the power, the hierarchy, because it was not always clear to me where Natalie stood. Is she a peer to Helena or above or below? She seems to be above. I mean, she's in charge of this, and maybe they just take like, okay, I've been assigned making this all go well, so I am in charge of you right now.
She's still the CEO's daughter. Helly is the CEO's daughter and, heir apparent, so is ultimately going to be.
Yeah, but she's also shat upon. I'll bet she's got brothers. I'll bet there's something about her that just doesn't stack up. Maybe he wanted a son, but whatever it is, she has his ear. Natalie talks to her dad, but Helly cannot talk to her dad. So there is definitely, like, Natalie seems to be his go-to more than his own kid.
So that she goes into work. This is after the weekend where she nearly got killed in the ice water, and is now going to meet with Natalie and my favorite character, the big giant Mr. Drummond, our favorite Nordic super burly man. And she's like, "Will I be updating father later? He should hear it from me. He should hear that like her plan was discovered, and they realized they have a spy down on the severed floor."
Do you think that's what they should hear, or I think what I take it to mean is they should hear that she nearly died?
That all of it.
Okay, it's so sad because it's just like she just wants her dad to give a shit about her. And it's like, I finally have something where he might bat an eye. I want to see if he loves me. Can I please tell my dad that I almost died? It's like that she has to ask permission is just fucking sad.
And to that question, Mr. Drummond says, "We have decided to spare him knowledge of this contretemps." So it's like they're running this little operation without the CEO's knowledge, but then everything that has been going on, he does know about. It's unclear.
It is unclear.
And she's like, "Well, please let him know that his daughter's alive and well."
Why would you do that if he doesn't know that you almost died? That's what's confusing.
So he's like, "Hey, the medical team says your tempers will rebalance quickly."
Bringing back the tempers right away.
Fuck?
We just learned about the 4 tempers. Right. That's why they are practicing some old fucking Christian science or something. Your tempers were really. Does she have an innie for fun as well? Like that, like has her babies or whatever? I mean, is she wanting to use the innie her in other ways and she can't until the tempers are. You know what I mean? Like, does the Glasgow block fuck up your ability to switch it on and off when you want? I don't know what the hell it means. It just kind of sounds like we don't do doctor stuff. We do cure stuff.
Yeah, we do. We have an alternative system of medicine, you might say. Perhaps we could arrange another obligement session this evening.
Do you think it's Miss Casey telling her about her innie's
these are things where it's like, I don't know. These are just words. They sound funny and cool to me.
They are very funny and cool. This is the first time that you can truly, you realize that the religion is not just for the middlemen. They do speak of religion here. And it's just the way they maybe swing their dicks around, the way it happens in like a mega church or any kind of church setting when, fucking Veronica is bringing the wrong pasta salad. And then, Mindy's like, Is that what the Lord would have wanted?
Yeah, that's
Is
how
that how
that's
much?
how I take it. But
Okay.
I could be wrong about this too.
You
They're all waiting for Mark S to finish Cold Harbor. He's at 81%.
completely sick of this thread, you know? Like, I don't care. It
Yeah.
better be so fucking cool.
But it requires Helly R going back down there because he won't work without her down there. And she's like, well, fine, I'll just go back there and pretend again. And they're like, no,
I
no,
guess
no,
I'll
no,
do
no.
it.
You're kind of a bad actress, as we saw.
Right. You don't have the fire.
Yeah, you don't fully embody the character. You don't move like her.
You don't do the stomp. You don't do
Yeah.
the forward motion fucking gorilla stomp that Helly does.
She does walk differently. When I saw her walking in this episode, I realized, oh yes, that's her. So no, you will not be allowed to go back down there and fake it. We're gonna send your innie down there. And
You're
she's like,
incompetent.
my innie who tried to kill me, and then the other one tried to kill me. They're fucking animals. This is how your boss talks about you. They think you're a worm and you are a worm to them. This is how all rich people talk about you. Taylor Swift thinks you're a bug. Steven Spielberg thinks you're a worm. It doesn't matter how much you like them. So they're like, hey, we need to clean up Mr. Milchick's mess. Father approved. Father encouraged it. Then this is the show being annoying with, wait, is this guy her brother or is he just saying that mirroring what she's saying?
I heard him say your father.
Now he said father encouraged it. No,
maybe
your.
maybe it's like, you know, like elders in a church. Maybe they call him father.
Even his wife calls him father.
Yeah.
Okay, mother. So she goes down the elevator and switches over for the first time this season.
And you realize that once it happens, like, oh yes, she is. We have not seen her go. But we see it this time. Oh God, you can't help but put yourself in her shoes of like, I'm just sitting there waiting for her to be the most Helly R she can be. Do something real Helly like, and I don't know what that would be. And it's just so it's like when you're put into a psychiatric ward. How do you act sane? It's all gonna look. It's however you've been painted.
Especially when they're deliberately doing things like the first thing you see after you were drowned in an ice is now you're looking at this weird painting of your grandfather forgiving his slaves, and then also this child who's there, and she's like, hello, welcome to work.
Well, also the fact that there's never been a lobby before, you know, I mean, it was jarring when Mark first beeped into that to the floor that he's used to going to. You see how they are when anything changes. That giant mural is jarring. Then put a child in front of it. What?
Actually, now that I think about it, if the question of like who's actually in charge up there, I mean, I assume it's like one of those things where it's always people vying for power, and it's like now Helena,
Like Succession.
Yeah, now Helena's doing her operation, but then it went wrong, so
Right.
now these other people move in. They're like, okay,
Got
honey,
it.
we're gonna try something now.
I'm sorry, this is a little stupid Easter eggy thing, but I did notice for the first time that the four heads or the four people that are buried in that painting, all three of them have similarities with the three men, but the one in front is a man too. And so there's not one to represent Helly. And so that might have been a giveaway that like, no, she's special. She my daughter. And her face is obscured too. So it looks like a man. It doesn't look like it. It's purposely not including her because her head's not going to go anywhere. She's protected.
So she correctly sees Miss Huang and is like, what the fuck?
It's like, I'm immediately
Don't
like,
kill it.
that's that Helly shit I like.
So she's like, come with me to Mr. Milchick's office, please. And then she runs into Dylan and Mark, who are waiting outside Milchick's office. So she's reunited with them. They all go in, and these three people are all shouting different things. Dylan is shouting, where the fuck is Irving? Helly is like, why the fuck did Irving try to drown me? What's going on?
Right.
Adam Scott is also saying something. I don't remember. And Mr. Milchick's like, the most important thing for me to explain right now, here's what a Glasgow block is.
Right.
It allows a severed person to go down the elevator without them switching up or whatever.
Here's why it was noble. Here's why Keir loves you due to this. Here's why it was such a brave thing that Helena did for this company.
So the first explaining, yeah, okay, cat's out of the bag. The Helly who you've been interacting with over the past, we don't know how long this has all been going on. It was actually the CEO's daughter in disguise. And Helly, this is really great acting right here from Britt Lower, so freaking out, like, wait a minute, she was down here as me? And you can really, really feel the violation.
Yeah.
She says he has no right to steal my fucking body.
She has no right. And you feel like, as you clocked before in the first season, that like there's a reason why she's a fiery thing. Like, she doesn't know she has privilege, but she sure the fuck does act like a Karen when she needs to, in the best way. I mean it in the best, just like, no, you do. She's always down to like start some kind of revolution. And you get that from privilege or severe oppression.
So you're saying like Karenness is not just based in memories. It's like in your DNA.
Yes, there's something about her, right? So she immediately is indignant, like, you don't have the right. Like, even her on the flip side is like, no woman's gonna come in my body. And it's just, you haven't heard any stand up for themselves like this and like talk about themselves as though they're the real body, they're the real person. This is the first time that's been, even if they're thinking it, even if they all feel like worms, they all feel secondary, that they could be taken away in a minute, and it's not considered murder. On the outside, no one is crying for them. All that matters about them are who are in here, and those people are disappearing every fucking day. I mean, it's the worst feeling. And she's the first one to come down there and be like, who is she? And I just feel like Milchick is like holding it in. I just at any moment am waiting for him to snap and be like, who the fuck are you? You aren't anything. I feel like he's holding it back.
You feel that building in him the whole episode, because all three of them are being.
Well, yeah, it's almost like she's a migrant worker, or like someone who is, someone who doesn't have protections in the United States, someone who's not documented, who can just be blipped in the blink of an eye. Like, if you fucking cross me, I'll call ICE. Like, there is no permanency for these workers, but they're working harder than anybody. And for one of them to go up to their freaking employer and be like, "Don't make me work like that."
Yeah,
it's wild.
I feel dumb for having never made the migrant comparison before, because I've always thought like this is a show about workers being exploited. And of course, the workers who are the most exploited in the world are people for whom their status in a country is dependent on their boss.
Yes.
And in countries like Qatar, where they they bring in workers from India and Pakistan and stuff, and steal their passports and say, like, we will not give this to you.
Like, literally steal their names, literally steal their identities, and their hopes of ever being like a permanent citizen. And until you are, you don't have tax papers, you don't have a social security card. Like, you are not. You're in between countries, so you don't fucking exist. And if you want to keep existing, toe the line until you can get into some kind of permanent situation. But until then, I will blip you so fast.
Yeah, this is the logical extension of that, is we will create brand new people to do the work that we don't want to do. Ooh, gross.
Okay, yucky.
So yeah, she's just really great here, making you feel how personally she feels violated. And on the divide as to the question of, are we the same people as our Audis or are we different people? She and Dylan are like in lockstep. We exist down here. I don't give a shit what happens to Irv's Audi. I don't care if he's on a pleasure cruise.
Right.
My Irv is dead.
You're not going to convince me.
Mark, over the course of this episode, is saying like, no.
No, it does not happen. And I promise, Mark is with them. He is feeling nervous and feeling weird about what is he even going to tell Helly. How can he figure out, like, that was his bond and his reason for being down there, and now that's gone and he wants to trust her. But I was just going to say that I don't think Mark shifts completely into going back to company man until his suspicions are aroused by what Milchick says to Dylan about his privileges. You can see it in his eyes, his body language, everything. He immediately then shifts to company man. Until then, he's still got fire.
Okay, so I'm not talking about him being a company man. I just mean, like, philosophically, do you feel like you and your Audi are the same person?
Oh.
He has always been more like, no, we are. She is my wife. I don't know her, but I know that I owe her something.
No, he's not. He's always said, well, my Audi's wife. I mean, he does feel like he does feel more connected, because he went up there and he found relatives and he found people who love him and who like embraced him. Of course he's going to feel more connected to his Audi.
And whether he means it or not in this episode, he says like Irving's not dead. He's just not here anymore.
Right, but he doesn't say that until after he's fucking done with Dylan.
Mm-hmm. So now Dylan is just yelling at Milchick, "Where's Irving? He's dead." No, Irving's out. He is on an elongated cruise voyage. Using those big words that Mr. Milchick loves to use.
Got a memory like a trap. You tell him what orboto or whatever means, and he's going to recite it back to you. You tell him this thing, and he's going to say it right back. I just love that. He's like, "I heard you." Blah, 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 blah.
He says, "I don't give three dry fucks about his Audi." And so then Mr. Milchick tells them a story. "Have you ever heard the story of the grap shop, the grap shaping?" And he asks, like, as all three of them are yelling at them, he just has to drop this confusing thing. And they're like, what the fuck, man? What are you talking about?
We don't want to be sat down for a story, Grandma. We're not children. We're getting older by the moment.
But Mark is like, pretend we don't know about it because we're fucking babies, okay, Jack? So he's like, all right, well, let me tell you. The old kings of Sweden. Now, I did a little digging, and there was just one specific king, King Charles the 11th, a 17th century king of Sweden who was famous for traveling the country in disguise so he could see what was really going on in his kingdom, or being a secret shopper. Hey, what do you think about the king? I think the king sucks. Off with that person's head.
Right. Undercover royalty.
Here, Egan was known to do this himself at his other factories, and Miss Egan was carrying on this noble tradition. And we've commented before on how we love that they can dress up anything that they learn as like dress it up in the language of the sort of fake progressive language. We're doing this because we really care about the workers, and how else would we know what it's like to be severed if we didn't send the heir apparent to the company to go live as a severed worker and get valuable data.
We can't trust you all to tell us how you feel. We have to go see how you feel.
So yeah, this is a thing that obviously happens all the time in the real world. Secret shoppers, undercover bosses,
or just for PR's sake, just the head of Uber Eats, or no, DoorDash.
Of Uber, or yeah.
It was the head of DoorDash, just like, I dash now. And then a whole PR piece comes out
of it. The
Starbucks,
CEOs like makes a big deal. I'm going to spend a couple hours a month being working as a barista.
Fuck me if I work there. Do you know what, like, there's no way he moves from his spot. It's like, can someone hand me a cup? Mm-hmm. Oh, could you make this foamy? He's just going to delegate. What a fucking nightmare. But he wants to be the guy who does this. Martha, you have a good day. He wants to be that fucking guy.
And, Milchick is lying. This is a blatant lie. They just have to tell them something. But this is certainly in the corporate PR playbook of the head of the CEO really, really wants to understand what it's like for you all.
Spin me right round.
Oh, well, that is in fact the presentation they made at the end of the first season, the big gala with all the Apple branding. That was how it was all being presented. Is we really wanted to experience what it was like to be a severed worker. I've recommended this podcast before. I'll recommend it again. Citations Needed, which I feel like is just the podcast of Severance, because every thing that happens in Severance, I'm like, that reminds me of a Citations Needed episode. So they have an episode 187 from August 2023. It's called Undercover Bosses, Uber Driving CEOs, and the Empathetic Executive Shtick. So listen to that podcast, all about how like this is all about surveilling workers, getting good PR for yourself, and crucially, union busting. Because you know what, you don't need your CEO to understand conditions on the ground if you actually have a union that represents the interests of the workers. They advocate for the rights of the workers. They're the ones who actually know what's going on the ground. And
put your fucking mouth where your policy is. I don't need your fucking kind feelings, and I don't need you to roll up your sleeves and get sweaty. I don't care about your fucking sweat equity, pal. I care about my cheddar.
Right. So, I mean, one thing that they emphasize in the Citations Needed episode is that the companies will put it like, our workers, we spoke to our workers, and they're very concerned that management is out of touch with the experience of workers. And they point out, like, there's no data to say that if you ask workers, what's your biggest concern? My concern is, what does management think about what my life is like? Like, people want money.
Yes, we have brains outside. We're not always thinking about you, man. And it's like when we said on our baby boom episode, because we are a movie podcast, just so you know. It's like women don't need time away from their babies so that they do so that they can work as hard as the men. The men need to slow the fuck down, and we need to meet in the middle like this. So it's like I don't need my boss to work as hard as me every now and then. I need us all to work less hard. There's a fucking difference. Lower the bar.
Mark immediately says, smells like horse shit.
And that's how you know it's still Mark. You know, he has not turned yet.
He's got no filter on him, at least when it comes to Milchick in this episode. And Dylan says, I don't give a shit about this. Is Irving coming back or not?
Right. Just be clear.
Milchick says no.
Finally. Some honesty in this bitch.
Dylan says, you fucking murderers. You can't do this to people, Helly says. And Milchick's like, well, take some time to ingest all of this, and this went well.
And just so you know, this was good.
So they go now to their workstations, and he's like, and you need to get reacclimated to your new workstations. They go into their office. We don't see what their office looks like, but Dylan's like, what the fuck? And I was certain Bob Balaban would now be in Irving's old spot, but instead, no, they've rearranged the office so there's only 3 workstations.
They deleted him in such a way that even their work setup makes it look like there was only ever 3.
Right, exactly. Because and the photo on Dylan's desk has Irving just doctored out of it. These 3 people are weirdly standing on the side.
Right.
And and so Dylan keeps like chirping, and Mr. Milchick is like, Dylan, your words have consequences, and I'd hate for certain privileges to be revoked.
And then just like that, make the elevator noise, because now Mark has checked out. He already knew he could not rely and confide in Helly, which is what he did. She saved him after PD disappeared. He's got no fucking release valve now. And so Dylan was fucking it until that moment where Milchick clearly made it known that you can't trust Dylan either. He's not telling you everything. Then Mark was like, fuck it.
And that Dylan
Let me just get my job done.
Yeah. And even if like I can trust him, I know that things like the certain privileges still mean something to him. Mark is also so destabilized by everything he's been investing in. The mission to find Miss Casey. Yeah. They knew about it the whole time.
They let him go everywhere that he did go.
Yeah, you think you were going behind us? We allowed you to do all
that. Passion that Helena had with the picture, all that was like anything we were doing clearly would do nothing, because why would she do it?
So in addition to being, sexually violated by this woman who he had sex with in the last episode, he's just like, personally violated, and just embarrassed.
Yeah, like, just made to feel completely stupid. Like, those were all my fucking ideas.
Yeah.
I did all my things. Mm-hmm. You helped me figure them out.
And you were in charge the whole time. I truly have no agency whatsoever. I'm a fucking bug. So Dylan says, you know what? Let's have a funeral. Not a retirement party, a funeral. And Helly's like, yeah, a funeral. Yeah. What about you, Mark? What do you think? And he's like, as long as we can get it over quick and get back to work. Mark coughs. Mark has a cough in this episode. What's up with the cough?
It's just like a bloody nose and anything cancer. Yep. The cough means a lot, people.
Is Cold Harbor giving him cancer? We'll see.
Giving him a cold.
He goes to the bathroom and Helly follows him in. I gotta say, I think, fellas, if a lady follows you into the bathroom, it's kind of sexy.
And it's very Helly, right? Mm-hmm. She doesn't care about these like prim and proper norms. Helena growing up and being taught to be whatever the fuck she is wouldn't have done this.
That's why she reminds me of you and me when we were in the office. Laci and I are married to each other. I keep forgetting to mention that. And that's why we talk to each other the way we do. And I call her a slut and stuff.
Because I am a slut.
So, yeah, they're in the bathroom. And she's like, Mark, are you okay?
It's like, don't ask that. Helena asked that. Or Helena asked that.
I love she asks, you couldn't tell that it wasn't me?
Right.
And he says, obviously not. Like, what do you mean? What was she like? And he's like, she was like you. Or you're like her. I don't know. I don't know who you are, I guess.
Right.
And he's at his passive aggressive Adam Scott assholiest.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to change his demeanor that much to be a piece of shit. I love it. I love this performance. I love him generally as an actor.
He's given up hope. He's given up he had some semblance of like optimism and sincerity in there, and like, yeah, let's get it done, but let's get it done for my team and for myself. And now he has no team. Now he's just like, let's just fucking get it done.
The way that Adam Scott can deliver lines like, well, she's like, no, you do know me. And he's like, okay.
Right, yeah. Oh,
and
so
make it
perfect.
sound like never wanted to punch anyone more. The only person I want to kill in the show more is Ricken. We'll get to that. So brilliantly played by both of these actors. So well written and directed. Makes me think of how, well, again, I love the show's constantly shifting character dynamics and putting something on screen that you don't normally see. And it's certainly a phenomenon people have where you have a dream. I have a dream about Laci where she does something that makes me mad in the dream, and I wake up and I'm mad at her. And she's like, "Why are you being shitty to me?" And I'm like, "Well, I had a dream that you were mean to me, and now I'm mad at you." And you're like, "But it was a dream." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. There's no reason for me to be mad, but
let me be mad at the material you right now because that's satisfying, and then I'll stop."
Or like Laci referenced earlier, there was a misunderstanding between us. And before I had a long time before it was cleared up. In the meantime, I was angry. Then Laci clears it up. You have no reason to be angry at me. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm still angry.
Yeah, but I still got all these. I got a lot of momentum in this direction.
Well, it's like a physiological response in your body.
I'm saying it's inertia. Like that pendulum, just let her come home. Let that bitch come home and you release it. And it's like, well, it's got momentum now. You're going to fucking hit me with it. Because you've been waiting to let it go.
It isn't based in logic, and it's not something that you can just like, no, here's the truth, and then like the air comes out of the balloon. It's like, it will come out, but I still feel mad right now. And I'm like, well, the fact that I could think it says a lot if you think about it.
And I was like, this is thought crime.
Yeah, it was thought crime. So he's like,
your thoughts.
So she's like, he's furious at her. And she's like, no, that wasn't me. And he's like, yeah, I know. He knows it wasn't her, but he's still angry. He's got to be angry at someone.
Well, and he doesn't know that this is really her. He can't.
True.
There's no fucking safe word. There's nothing.
But it doesn't matter if it's you at this point. I'll always wonder. There's nothing you can do to actually convince me. It's like whether JFK was killed by Oswald or the CIA. It doesn't matter. The point is we all believe he was killed by the CIA. That's the point. But crucially, he withholds two pieces of information. One, they had sex.
Yeah.
And that he was
embarrassed. He's embarrassed.
And that it is in some ways a sexual assault that Helena Egan did to him. Yeah. And then two, that my wife is down here.
Well, oh, right. Right. And then, both Dylan and Milchick use the same phrase with him. Did y'all catch up? Because I'll catch you up, motherfucker. But yeah, I mean, so just on the assault thing, all you have to do is think about twins. You're dating one of them, not both of them. If the other one sneaks into your room and it looks just like your mate, and you find out it was the other one, that is assault. That is not okay.
Premise of David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers.
Yeah.
Jeremy Irons plays twins, and there's like the more confident one and then the nerdier one. And so the more confident one will start having sex with a woman until he gets sick of her. And then he allows his brother to start having sex with her.
That is fucked.
Great movie. Check it out. So now Milchick tells Miss Huang, prepare a bereavement kit. This thing is happening so often that we have kits.
Well, no, there's a policy and a protocol for everything. They are nothing if not organized, Matt. That I love that everything comes in a book. Everything is beautifully graphically designed when needed. For instance, what we get to later with Milchick's fucking review. Anyway, this is the first time we get to see some disturbances in the force. I don't know that it was totally clear what is the power structure between Miss Wong and Milchick, but it's definitely wobblier than I expected. And she seems to be gunning for his job, or maybe just more respect. I don't fucking know.
This is the thing.
Who knows?
You'll never know if you work at this company who's actually a secret shopper, who's actually my boss, but I didn't know, or who is my boss, but has to act like they're a child. Because you get a few things of her. So, but what are these of her maybe trying to undermine him?
She's questioning his decisions. She does not feel like he's been making great decisions, and now she's saying, "Look, let me just may I say a question?" And she just like, "You're making them feel like people. You shouldn't be doing this.
Shouldn't let them have a funeral. It makes them feel like people. That wasn't a question. That was an opinion. Unsolicited. Love that." And she's like, "Your first performance review is today, right?" That was a question. So yeah, maybe she's been put here to surveil Mr. Milchick, but
or his job is precarious, and even a child could replace you. Your child already did replace you in your last job. Why not this one?
This job is so precarious that you have monthly performance reviews where a very high-ranking executive
2 to 6 hours long
has to spend 2 to 6 hours talking to you.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So they have a funeral, a very hastily arranged funeral in the cool break room where there's a lovely 8-bit graphic of Irving and a banner, Irving B, quarter 870 to quarter 882. And Dylan delivers a eulogy, and, you know, Zach Cherry does the Zach Cherry thing. Irving was a dick, but I love him, etc. He once put toner in my water cup.
Okay, we don't have to rehash the whole thing. They watched the episode, Matt.
Look to the scene to know what happens in the scene is what we're saying.
Maybe give it a look.
So there's this watermelon sculpture of Irving, and they're allowed to have a little watermelon party by themselves. And Miss Wong has her theremin, and she's excited to play her song, but Mr. Milchick pulls her away. She's like, I wanted to perform on my theremin.
No, she said, but I practiced. You can do it for me later. then I'm confused again. Is she a child?
But this is, I guess this is retaliation for her being shitty to him. Yeah. No theremin for you. Mark eats some watermelon and he's like, okay guys, cool. Good seeing you. Got to get back to work. And this is the moment where I'm like, I've never wanted to murder a character.
Isn't
more.
it kind of over? I don't know. He kind of reminds me of you. He's like, wasn't it over?
Me?
Yeah. And how you would be quick to exit a social thing. You're like, well, it's winding down. I'm not going to be the last person here. I'm not like that.
Not if I was going through what they're going through.
We'll see.
He reminded me of you right here, and I can't tell the story of when it is that you were doing this.
What are you talking
but
about?
It's when somebody suddenly.
What do they suddenly do, Matt?
I can't give away any of the details because. Well,
I'm so glad you started this fucking story.
But yeah, he's annoyingly going back to come on, guys, we have work to do. Let's go get the job done. Work on the files. Are you fucking kidding me? Irving is dead.
He can't trust anyone in this room, Matt. I think he's acting normal. He's acting like a dick, but he wants them both to know. Fuck y'all. You both owe me something right now.
Irving was your friend and now he's dead. No, he says he's not dead. He just isn't here.
Yeah.
And Dylan is like, well, Helly doesn't know what to say to that, but Dylan does. He's like, you told her about Miss Casey yet? Mm-hmm. What about Miss Casey? So, she's like, well, Miss Casey is your wife. Holy shit, we got to do something. Ooh, let's get together as a team and we'll do a mission. It'll be cool. And he's like, no. They see everything we're doing and they're smarter than us and they have the tools and we got nothing. We're bugs. And you and me, I don't even know who you are. I don't know you at all. And I don't know if you're you or you're the outie or the innie. And she's like, you won't know, but you just have to trust me.
This is real. Not everything down here is a lie. And that does pique his interest because he just accused them of finally giving some truth. Milchick saying what he said. And so for her to echo it, Helena wouldn't have said something like this. Wouldn't have been so anti-corporation. She can support the workers all she wants, but she's not allowed to denigrate the corporation. This Helly is doing it nonstop. When you think about it, the most Helena did ever was just support, never take away.
Mm-hmm. And she concludes this with saying, and stop being a fucking asshole.
Right. And then she does a stomp. Dylan. And you called this, Matt. You called this. And I said that like a cat poster. I didn't remember there being a hang in there poster in the break room, but there it is.
I don't think we saw it.
And
but what?
Well, but you said, he says, hang in there. And I pictured a cat. And I didn't think it meant anything, but you were the one that brought it up saying, seems like code. They've been talking on the side. But it wasn't that they talked on the side. It was code. But not code that Dylan knew until he knew.
It's because everything on this show is a code for fucking something. Dylan is like leaving the funeral and he sees that poster that says hang in there, which is the last thing Irv said to him before he was summarily executed in the forest. And he goes and looks at the poster, puts his hands behind it, and finds a drawing of the exports room elevator. And on back are extremely complicated directions to get there. Left, right, left.
I mean, it's not complicated if it's just hallways.
I would have a panic attack trying to follow these directions.
Just cross them off.
But instead, he just puts it back where he's found it.
We don't totally know why. Maybe for safekeeping. Maybe because he wants to see his Audi wife again.
Yeah, but like 2 episodes from now, he's going to be like, fuck it. And
Of course. But again, I mean, this could equally just be because it's safer here than anywhere on him. Where's he going to put it where they're not going to find it?
Okay.
They already haven't found it here.
I think it's the, this is too much. This is too big. I'm by myself. Irving isn't here to help me.
Yeah.
This is too much for me to take
right
on
now. Yeah.
And my team has split up. So it's time for Mr. Milchick's monthly 6-hour-long performance review. Everyone gets one.
Not everyone, just everyone in Milchick's position.
And before he goes in, he pulls Natalie aside. And he's like, hey, remember those paintings
And
that
how
they
we
gave
had
us?
a moment? Can we have another moment?
You know how they repainted Mr. Egan to be a black man? How'd you,
How do you, as a black woman?
what do you think of that? And she's like, the meeting is starting.
But she gave some face.
She gave some face. It's true.
And some watery eyes.
Goes into this giant conference room.
What I think is happening with Natalie is I think the board is always in her ear, and so they can always hear her. I think, just like the trade-off for Milchick to be in Cobell's position is that he has to have these fucking monthly horrible things. I'll bet to rise to whatever the fuck it is Natalie is means you, for the rest of your days, answer to us, we are in your ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
There's
so.
always a huge trade-off.
I think so, but I think that also they don't have to be in your ear for you to feel like, I don't know if I can trust Mr. Milchick. I don't know if I can say anything to him.
Because that's what the best kinds of manipulative bosses do is they sow distrust between the workers, always.
Yes. The opposite of if you never want a union to form, just pit your workers against each other. Have them sniping at each other, have them spying and always working to outpower the others. So, yeah, it's time for the little performance review in this room with the Citizen Kane conference table. And Mr. Drummond, the Icelandic big man, says, this review can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, depending on the number of atonements and approbations required. If the review is to take longer than 4 hours, there will be a break for lunch with the order taken in advance. And Milchick's like, well, I hope that won't be necessary. And he passes him the menu. Very funny. So, yeah, I mean, this is a terrible job.
This is fucking terrible. This is not worth it.
For Mr. Drummond also, this is part of your job. You have to do this for 6 hours every month. So yeah, positive. Well, listen, your attendance and your analysis are both in the excellent range. Your analysis.
Like they're taking his pee.
Yeah. It's just surveillance all the way up and all the way down. I watched the movie Gattaca last week because we did our Patreon episode on The Truman Show, patreon.com/loadbearingbeams. Now, the person who wrote The Truman Show, Andrew Niccol, wrote and directed the movie Gattaca. And that movie is, I mean, I was kind of thinking of Severance because it has just constant surveillance. But there it's surveillance in the form of we can tell everything about a person from a drop of their blood and their pee. So workers are always peeing in a cup. The job interviews are just, we don't need to ask you questions. We're just looked at your blood.
Everyone's Edward as long as he has pee or blood.
Negatives. You use too many big words. You put the paper clips on wrong. Also, you fucked up massively with 1, you assembled this new team that failed to coalesce. 2, you instituted kindness reforms that have kept the team distracted. They're not productive like we thought that they would be with these kindness reforms. And 3rd, you did an Ortbo that, we don't even want to go into how bad that was. But the most dangerous thing of all that happened is it threatened to sully the Egan name. But of course, like all of these things were their idea.
Yes, he just didn't implement them, except for that they'd never been implemented before, so who knows how they're going to fucking go. And he has a heart. He has a heart more than Miss Cobell did. He is not as completely sold on the whole Kier thing as she is.
Do you think the kindness reforms were actually his idea?
Yeah. That part I think, yeah, but they gave the green light, and I think it's bullshit that they're blaming him for pulling together the team when that seemed the 2 days to do it, and he was doing a lot of other shit, so that's stupid. And that he would go on a fucking wilderness retreat without them being totally fine with it is stupid.
But this is how business works in the real world, is management gives you an assignment.
Gives me a long leash, and then I'll take that leash back.
Something that you can't possibly succeed in, and then be like, why didn't you succeed at the thing?
Always keep you on unstable footing. Oh, you think you're doing a good job?
So here's the thing, Seth, if I may call you Seth. Mark is about to complete Cold Harbor. Now it's going to be remembered as one of the greatest moments in the history of the planet. And it will take place under your stewardship. That will be quite the legacy that you leave. But I think that this milestone has clouded your judgment. So it's time to go back to basics. Pulls out a baseball bat, if you know what I mean. Remember these severed workers' greater purpose and to treat them as what they really are. Bugs, slaves. This is intercut with Mark working on Cold Harbor and making progress toward it. And so Milchick is like, okay, yes, I'm tightening the leash. And then we see Milchick later examining. They have printed out and this beautifully designed
Just this thick. And he's just going to get volume after volume after volume of this. No wonder Cobell was so pissy.
Yeah, telling him everything he did wrong.
And beautifully bound book. And just when you think Milchick can't get closer to you, there's the elevator scene. He can get oh so close to your face.
And Mark, he confronts Mark in the elevator, but before that, Mark has a moment where he integrates. He can suddenly blips out at his workstation and then blips back in, and he's like, whoa, that was weird. So he's going to leave for the day, but Milchick stops him in the elevator and he's like, hey, I saw you left work 6 minutes early. May I come in? He goes into the elevator, and like many shot compositions in the show,
severed.
It's integrated with a severed line in the middle. Mark on one side, Milchick on the other. And he's like, and Mark starts getting pissy and defining. And he's like, how was the rest of the funeral? Or did Miss Wong take notes of the funeral for the newspaper? What was it called again? The Bullshit Gazette? I'm glad it's not more clever than that. He's just like, newspaper? More like bullshit.
Paper.
So Mr. Milchick says, well, I hope that we can put all this behind us and look forward to productive work days ahead. And
praise care.
Yeah, Mark's like, yeah, productive, doing the fucking thing with the numbers in the little bin. Okay, yes,
data
very
refinement.
good. Yes, and then Milchick steps over the severed line. He's like, did you and Helly catch up? Does she know you fucked Helena Egan at the Ortbo? Helena Egan, leader in waiting of the company.
I didn't think so, bitch. And he leaves the elevator.
Very menacing here. I found out this week that Tramell Tillman, the great actor who plays Milchick, is going to be in the next Mission Impossible movie. As if we couldn't be that excited enough for that movie. We have
Mission
reason.
accepted.
Yes, hell yeah. Then we check in with Devin and Ricken. So what's going on here?
Just, capitalism. They've stroked his dick ego and totally brainwashed him into like, look, just use the language of Egan. Here's our very rigid system. Here's the words you can use. Here's the messaging you can. Here are the words. Just write these and say you wrote them. And he's typing them, and he's having his brilliant, beautiful wife Devin read them, and they are the opposite of his book. They are not his words. They might as well be written by Keir himself. But he's convinced himself, because of the paycheck, because of the prestige it comes with, that no, I'm doing this because I want to. I'm writing this because it's a Trojan's horse. You see, you soften up the innies with the words they're used to, and then you sneak in the radical ideas, and then in revolution, he's totally buying his own. He just wants the money.
I mean, yes, because he calls it a Trojan's horse, not a Trojan horse, which is what it actually is. If I can bring my ideas to the severed workers around the world, it might beget a revolution. What words? What revolutionary words do you have to say anyway?
That's just what he's selling himself,
yes, of
so
course.
that he can take the paycheck and not have Devin be mad at him.
But it's like it is so blatant. Like he says, like, your sovereign boss may own the clock that greets you from the wall, but you get to enjoy its ticking and thus should be happy.
Yay.
Now she's like, that's the opposite of what your book said, but it's like his book was like, hey, are you a poor drunk? Stop it. Stop being so poor and drunk. But, she's like, yeah, it's the literal opposite of what you said before.
But at least what he was said was his own buffoonery. This is coherent and bad.
But everything he says makes me mad. Just the way he reacts, like, okay, I see why you may think that, but I just want to catapult him into the sun.
And he drops his Ricken mask for a moment. He sounds like a good old boy who wants to get a beer and hit his wife. And I mean, for just a second, that face drops and you want my money, don't you, bitch? I say bitch a lot in this episode. Yeah, he gets mean for the first time.
She says, okay, Lumen hurts people, and you know that, so if you make propaganda for them, you're hurting people too. And then like a dipshit, he's like, I shall reflect on your words, which doesn't mean shit. But then he's like, but also...
Don't you want the money?
I mean, he still dresses it up in his flowery language. This is a fiscal and creative opportunity, unlike any I've yet seen, and I'm not inclined to walk away from it. Also, I think you were looking forward maybe to me making all the money and the lifestyle that can afford us.
That's when he's an asshole, right there. Yeah.
Well, it's all an asshole. But
no,
yes,
he's
bringing in Devin. You're going to want that money too. Also, but it seems like you're living a pretty good life already. I don't know. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to bed. And he's like, wait, babe.
No, thank you. I love her. All right. Now, Irving goes and he makes a mysterious phone call again in the phone booth for whatever reason. And he's putting away his hallway paintings. He's done with that. Now he needs to go make a phone call. And he's clearly reporting to someone. He's letting them know, look, I was fired. I might not be as useful. They must be on to me. He does seem like he's also participating with somebody in trying to get some Trojans horses in, or just trying to figure out what's going on at Lumen. We don't know who he's talking to, but he does.
Is it Ragabi? Is it a journalist?
It could be fucking anyone. It could be Mark. I don't know how. But he sees once again at this phone booth for some reason. This is when I get maybe this is like the only kind of walks he's taking. I don't know. He walks his dog, doesn't he? But Bert's there looking at him. So he walks up to him menacingly and he's like, "Why? What are you here for?" I don't know. Do your impression.
So yeah, this is the first time Christopher Walken has talked all season, and it is the most Christopher Walken he's sounded in the show. He's like, I got this thing. When somebody shows up on my doorstep screaming my name, I want to know why. Call it a quirk. Why were you at my house the other night? I don't know. It wasn't you at all, was it? You severed.
Yeah.
I got canned a couple weeks ago when I pressed them for a reason.
Okay.
I said my innie had an unsanctioned erotic entanglement with another worker. They wouldn't tell me who. Then you show up at my door. And he's like, you think we were an item?
But this is the first time we find out that his retirement was bullshit. Irving thought it was bullshit. It was. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You think we were an item? Well, Fields certainly thinks so. Fields and
Ricken. They're definitely friends.
We had to cancel our trip to Milwaukee. Thanks for that. Fields is my husband. And he's like, I'm sorry. It's fine. Maybe you could...
We have a ham.
We got a ham.
We have a ham.
I kept this ham hidden from Lumen, the one place they wouldn't find it for 3 years in my ass. Anyway, we're planning to have it tomorrow. It might be nice if you
my retirement ham.
Come over. We can sit down, talk through it all. And he's like, you, me, and Fields. I suppose. He's like, great. We like red wine, very expensive, delightful. I'd love to go to this, except for the ham part. I don't want to eat ham.
I know you hate ham.
But listen, these two actors have no, fuck Fields.
Polycule.
No, fuck Fields. I just love these two actors together. They have such great chemistry.
They do.
Just, again, I've said it so many times. I love John Turturro, and I love that Christopher Walken has such an interesting role to play after being basically a joke for 20 years.
Well, and he seems lovable through John Turturro's eyes. Because he's so captivated. It makes us like, oh, husband material.
Now, back at Mark's house, his new roommate just keeps running the house.
Give me the snacks.
Doing an inventory. And he's like, you got my eggnog? And he's like, yes, I got your eggnog.
No, he's like, I guess it's out of season. Yeah, that's only around for Christmas.
She's going through Gemma's stuff and making notes. And she's like, listen, I need her shit to jog memories of you. And he sees her cremated ashes. And he's like, oh, shit. What are these then? If she's not dead, so who is this? And she's like, well, Lubin has people on the payroll at the morgue.
Just they have the whole town of Kier on the payroll.
So Mark coughs again. Huh? What's up with Mark?
Are you feeling okay? Basically, just tell someone you don't feel right. God, dude, don't you remember Petey had like flu-like symptoms?
Yeah.
You're having flu-like symptoms.
Hey, are we going to do the science thing tonight? No, not tonight. We'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it when I'm ready, Mark.
So Mark leaves and goes.
She's squatting. She's a squatter.
Yes, she's gonna make this last. I think we need to give it a few more nights.
He's like, you're good on snacks for now.
For now,
I like honey roasted, not salted.
You only have basic cable. Maybe look into that.
She's got a little fan clipped to her bed. You know that was a special request. It's hot down here, Mark. It's hot.
Finally, I feel seen on screen.
I know. I was like, yes, we have fans.
Someone who always has a clip-on fan near him holding it up for the camera now.
Don't tell everyone.
Mark leaves the room, but suddenly starts hearing Miss Casey talking to him. Your Audi can roller skate with grace. Your Audi pays all of his gas and electric bills within 3 business days. Yeah, your Audi listens to music while shaving, but not while showering. But he's now blipped into the severed floor, and he goes through.
He can even open a door.
Yes, and he's walking. Does he go through the exports hall?
It does look like that, or the break room. It's hard to tell.
But when he opens it, it's just into a regular.
It's just into a regular hall, and there she is. Yes,
and then he sees.
She's never looked weirder.
his ghostly wife, Miss
Pilgrim.
Casey / Gemma. Your Audi once captured a butterfly. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say that's a reference to Madame Butterfly, or maybe to Weezer's Pinkerton. Your Audi is going to... But then he blips back home, and he cries. He has seen his wife for the first time.
She looks
alive.
different. Her hair is different. Like, this is a version of his wife he's never seen.
Yes.
But it is his wife.
Yes, just that notion. I grieved you. I went for years living with you, and this is just too much to take.
Like, here you are, and you do look different. Time has passed. This is fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You look 2 years older. Weird.
And I had sex with that lady.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Also, that lady from the first season who I went on a date with.
I'll also probably have sex with the lady that's in my basement right now, but only for science.
What, I'm supposed to not to?
Uh,
So that's the episode. Final thoughts, Lacey. You already spoiled us with your grade.
Bitch, you started with a letter grade at the top of the last episode. I want to hear it. It's
bitch.
A minus.
That's what you said, yeah.
I've bitched a lot. Yeah, A minus. I know it's an A. I'm sleepy. Bitches come out when I'm sleepy. It's the bitching hour. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, it is.
I've also said smart things.
Oh my God, yes.
If you rewind the tape,
You'll hear all kinds of smart
you'll
things.
hear it.
This was a fun episode
I
after
like
2 episodes that really just the Ortbo episode I wasn't in love with. Although it looked really cool. I don't know. I still, it's weird. This show is episode by episode. Each individual episode is great and so much
They're
fun.
all good. Yeah.
And yeah, I have that feeling that I haven't had since like prime Game of Thrones, where I'm looking at the running time of an episode. And
I know. Every
like
time we
you
pause
said,
it, I'm like, 12
No,
minutes.
no.
12 minutes, not enough time.
and like how you said, like, why are they moving so slow? And I'm like, it takes as long as it takes.
Go down the hall.
That is how I felt when I would watch Game of Thrones. And it's like, we only have 20 minutes left and we're sending it with Bran.
Right. There's so many storylines. Go to the Mother of Dragons. What is happening?
Yeah. So it's a good show that I like. And it's my favorite type of episode, which is we get to spend a significant amount of time on the severed floor, but also get to check in with those outside folks. And
What are they doing?
Again,
This reminds me of the first season, which I love.
And I'm pretty confident that we're moving toward Mark and Irving and Dylan on the outside working together, which I would love to see. I would love to see those actors
I'd love an
getting to
integrated
play.
Helly.
Okay.
Helly with the money so she can do good, right?
No one
So
can do good.
She's faking it, right, for daddy, and then she puts in policies where they all get money.
So you sound like Ricken. But that's the thing I meant to say about Ricken. I mean, this is like
No, you didn't. You're done.
every fucking person who's like, I'll go work with the evil organization and I'll change them from
I'll
the
be
inside.
the one. I'll be the Trojans.
No. Are you listening, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Traitor. So,
Looking at you, Orpo. That's what you were spelling, right? Alexandria.
yeah, my final rating, B+. Yeah. Liked this episode and looking forward to next week's episode. Can't
Every
wait for
Friday, I wake up and I'm like, yeah. But now I have Scamanda, so at least my Thursdays are full.
What is this?
Scamanda, a lady
right.
that faked cancer for financial gain for fucking years.
Is this a documentary? Is it a...
It's a docuseries airing on ABC, and it only comes out on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. So
It's on ABC? Like the network ABC?
I have to watch commercials. Yep.
That's weird as hell. What? We'll talk about it offline.
We should. We talk. Yeah.
No, I'm
This
not
is
like
serious.
accusing you. It's like,
No,
this
no.
is a strange thing to be
This
watching.
is serious. I know. Okay.
Lacey, on our main show, Load Bearing Beams, this week we did one of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
Yes.
Our longest episode ever about Twilight.
It's fucking good, guys. You think you know things about Twilight? You don't. I mean,
you-
you do. But listen to what we know.
Surely you'll never have heard about the Mormon connection with Twilight. No, you probably have, but we explain it here too, and we have the Fiction Fixation podcast on, and we're just joking and laughing and celebrating and making fun of Twilight for 2.5 hours.
It's a love fest.
A good time was had by all. This week we're doing Spice World on the program.
That's what you really, really want.
One of the best Spice Girls movies they ever made.
At least it's top 2.
And over on the Patreon, we have The Truman Show. Speaking of which...
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.